silver spoon stuck deep in your ass. Didn't you sleep with a preteen in your past? You're a creep, a weakling that can't answer a single question that you're asked. I've never heard you say one true statement. Canadians are complacent, so you force them to get vaccinated. So fuck you, you blackface vagrant.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Strange Brew Podcast. You know me. I am Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson, the Raptilian. You can find my music on Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Music. If you want some of that kind of awake-style hip-hop, underground-style shit, we are here with a very special guest, Shaun Zimmer, a freedom fighter and outspoken advocate for mental health and trying to awaken people to the truth of our reality and break free from these mental prisons that we live in. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, Tom. Thanks for having me, brother. It's absolutely
problem.
the best day of my life, man. Every day, live it as that. I'm here alive in this present moment. All the memories from yesterday, all the hard lessons, challenges I've overcome, everything I've gained from it. So I'm happy to be here. Hopefully we share some words that empower people, bring hope and inspiration to all rise up together.
That's all I want for people, right? On my show, to give you kind of a little preview, we do things that are kind of dark humor based. We talk about things from like true crime to serial killers and the paranormal and aliens. And we always try to come at it as a dark humor because I think, the phrase, my Irish buddy, he's straight from Ireland. He's like, what his grandma used to say, if you're not laughing, you're crying. So we try to come at things in a positive light and make kind of not light of dark situations, but kind of put a spin on it where it doesn't seem as dark from the outside, because this world is a very dark place. I'm sure you've noticed.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of darkness, that's for sure.
So I want to uplift people in every way that we kind of can. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and kind of what led you down this path?
Yeah, absolutely. Do my best to keep it as short as possible. In a nutshell, very troubled youth. I grew up outside of Ottawa in a small little country town, 45 minutes south. And I got the boot out of the house at 15 years old. Got caught for Grand Theft Auto a couple of years later after couch surfing and getting into some pretty deep things, stealing a lot of cars, working for some gangs and whatnot. And I was given an option by a detective who was retiring that week, face 5 years in jail, or we're giving you a second chance to wipe the state clean if you move to Winnipeg in 48 hours. Your dad's there with a plane ticket. I hadn't seen him for a few years. He moved here prior. So that's what wound me up in Winnipeg. And my dad is big into fitness, so I got into the fitness industry, living with him until I got the boot out of his house. But that started my career in fitness, personal training. Started growing a big passion to help people with their health. And, as a young buck trainer, I had no empathy for people who were going through issues with their weight or whatever it is. And of course, life threw lots of trials and tribulations at me to start overcoming. And as always, I always share this with everybody. Every adversity that we face has a seed of equivalent or greater success. I'm a big believer in that. I think Napoleon Hill was the first one to, make that claim. And no matter what, you often can't see really the full harvest that's going to be reaped from you overcoming the challenges that you're facing, but always building more empathy, compassion, understanding for other people, always able to hold more space if you're able to, let go of your victim mindset. So as I went through my dark years of addictions and lots of mistakes, I started wanting to heal, discovering that I needed healing, that I had pain inside, that I had conflict inside. And that's what led me down a huge journey of self-development. Started working under luminaries like Tony Robbins, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Christoph, lots of different characters who help me understand the pain we hold and get an understanding of the tribal mind and why we do what we do, why there seems to be a hidden force for many people who focus on one area, let's say health, but then all of a sudden they self-sabotage in another, cutting their success down. And as I went down this journey, I got really good at it, helping other people, started coming to me for advice as I was leading that example that people wanted to follow. And that's what led me to transition from, at the time, I had my landscape construction company and was doing personal training, and transition to what you could call life coaching, helping people with addictions, relationships, their business, depression, just stepping up in any area, whether they're in the dark depths of hell or they were doing well and just wanted to do better. And so I've been doing that for 15 years almost, and connected to God 5 years ago. That changed my life drastically. Had a divine intervention showing that, I was always there being supported and I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I have been given the voice and character persona that I've been given to share a message that many people have, but in a certain delivery that speaks to, certain people. And the pandemic came and I got the message to build community. And I had used to do boot camps. I was wishing that I had a storefront I could open to show people they could take a public stand. And then when they said you couldn't have more than one person over at your yard, it hit me. I had the guidance to open up free fitness classes. So I put all my business aside. I was writing a book at the time, doing my online programs, put all that aside for a couple of years while I opened up community. I put an announcement out for free fitness classes every week. Come on down. We're going to be doing it publicly. I have
That got you in trouble, didn't it?
well, it depends on what you define as trouble. Yeah, it was a very public stand. It's interesting actually. Yesterday here in Manitoba, it was Louis Riel Day, and the property that I live at, where my home is where Louis Riel took the stand against the Canadian government and made the barricade across the Pembina crossing. He very well could have been sitting having a fire camped out right where I have my bonfire in the back. And this property is on one of the busiest streets in Winnipeg, on the outskirts, right on the edge, but it's on one of the busiest streets in Winnipeg. And I live right next to a bar that has a giant parking lot that goes right up to my whole side of my yard, covers the whole side of the fence. So one, I have parking for everybody that I was going to have and did have. And as well, the parking lot's higher in grade, so it provides the perfect opportunity to take a public stand for police to come and pull up and see what we were doing.
Yeah.
So when I put that announcement out, it grew quickly. We had lots of people come down, and the police came down pretty shortly after, trying to intimidate me into shutting down, and held my ground. And that I could go on and on about all the things that evolved from. We ended up doing kids boot camp classes, had other leaders come in, doing weekly yoga class, weekly Monday Muay Thai class. We even held a therapy night for people who having really dark problems. There's a lot. People are coming to me for everything, taking that stand, right? Everybody's going through so much, sharing what they're going through with their kids, their workplace, their family. We did a Monday nights men group, which still goes, and bi-weekly freedom fires. We had, 300, 400, 500 people in the backyard doing dance and DJs, 10 police outside telling us to shut it down, just giving them the finger, telling them to F off, and made a very public stand and inspired. If anybody listening is familiar with Monstrosity Burger, the restaurant in Winnipeg that took a public stand.
Oh, yeah,
Dave and Paulina, the owners, they got inspired to take their stand from coming to boot camp here. So had awesome ripple effects, gave people a place of hope, sanity, their tribe, connect with people. And that kept evolving. We did the Winter Wonderland for the kids, a bunch of kids events all the time, like teen night, party nights for all the homeschooling co-ops for the teens. And then wintertime came, kids had nowhere to go with the passports coming in, so decided to open up classes Monday to Friday inside the home, in my little home, 1,200 square feet. We had 50 kids here every night doing Muay Thai, creative play, games, different ages every night. And then Ottawa Freedom Convoy came, went to that, spent the whole time there, did a bunch of speaking events on the way back to instill hope again, to remind people or let them know that we did what we were supposed to do. It was supposed to end like that. Don't get lost in these temporary defeats. They're all part of the process, all stepping stones for the final victory. Got back home, turned the yard into a garden. Everything had opened up, and I felt the calling to make a yard and help people get back to the roots and focus on sovereignty and more healthy living. And so from there, still do bi-weekly potlucks, skating rink, men's night, different things, bringing community. It's always been about building community. It's never really been about, I never got the message to really try to stop what's happening. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was very angry and pointing the finger, telling people, you're enabling, until God showed me, hey, relax, man.
Me too, man.
Relax. I'm enabling. It's not them. It's just my plan. Okay, this is all part of the process. Yes, lead, and there's tough love that has a place, but be a lighthouse, lead by example, help people, but hold space for them, love your neighbor as yourself, and understand that everybody has their own journey here, and I need each side of the equation for what's going on. And you can't see the whole bigger picture, obviously. So stop hating. And just do what I can to bring people together, dude. Man. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
It's crazy. It's awesome, man, because the way you speak and what you have done for the community and to kind of help people, especially during those dark times where people were essentially in fear of everything, from their own government, to a virus. And from what you have said, who you are is what I am striving to be. I've been away. So to give you a little thing of myself, I've been awake, or whatever you want to call it, for a long time, like since I was a young teenager. But I also got involved with the law. And I was in and out of youth jail, and I was just trying to do like hip hop and make music and just slang CDs to people. But I had my own demons that I had to face, and I went through tons of horrific things in my life that changed me forever and made me become a better person. And I'm still working. We're all still working on ourselves. It is a constant battle, especially with the mind. And thanks to mushrooms, literally, they changed my life, and they allowed me to see through the veil and to battle the demons that are in my head. And without them, they're not for everybody. And I've stated this before on the show, they're definitely not for everybody, but they helped me in numerous ways that nothing else did. My parents were trying to get me to go to therapy when I was a kid, and nothing seemed to really get through to me in the way that mushrooms did. I almost died during an overdose in my early 20s, and it kind of woke me up to, I always knew that there was something weird going on with our reality, and that there was dark forces behind the scenes. I've seen weird stuff in my life, messing around with the Ouija board and messing around with like dark occult stuff, that made me realize that this reality is pretty thin compared to what we think it as. And then it started to wake me up to a lot of the stuff like that. And then I kind of went down a path of researching and reading and researching. And it's funny because I've accumulated like Christian friends along the way, and I'm not religious, but I understand the aspects of it. I believe a lot of what the Law of One teaches, which is interesting, because what you say is exactly what you could strive to be, or what people should strive to be under the Law of One, or whatever practice you want to do, is service to others, not service to self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Law of One, Ra. The teaching is there, and yeah, I'm not a big advocate of religion either. I do follow the way of Christ. I believe it's more of an archetype that we're supposed to embody, and go in the desert, overcome our evil, our demons, just as you expressed that you did, and it's what I've done as well. All the addictions and so many different things. I've been in and out of the system quite a bit as well. Spent some time in jail a few times, and it's overcoming that, right, and dominating it, and then gaining some level of enlightenment, of divine connection, and then sharing that with the world and helping people answer that calling. And I believe that's really the meaning of don't use the Lord's name in vain. When we look at I've been directed just recently to start studying the Bible, and more so in the older languages, the Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. And when you look at the first opening lines of the Bible, in the beginning there was God, and in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God. I think that really speaks loudly with don't use the Lord's name in vain, being don't speak falsehoods, and don't hold back truth. Speak your truth, right? Even though you only know a partial truth, but what you know to be partially true, speak it, and don't hold back, and do so no matter what, even if you get crucified.
It's
right?
very true. I've been called all sorts of things throughout my life, and I was like pretty young, calling out a lot of the stuff that was going on since I was like a teenager, like 17, 18, and I started like talking, like I never was a fan of the government. I always say this, I listen to a lot of punk music, and it made me aware that, the government's not really out for our best interest. I was very into George Carlin and stuff like that when I was young, so I kind of saw through all this stuff, but I was also holding my own hatred and anger for the people that didn't see what I saw, and my people in my family, and I was called crazy for years. And then now recently, over the last couple of years, people have even came out of the woodwork to be like, wow, I didn't realize that you were right about a lot of the stuff that you spoke out against. And there's part of me, right? It's hard to forgive and forget. And that's why I do envy some of the people that do follow the path of Christ and the Christ consciousness. I've yet to, I think, actually meet where I have to kind of excel in that level, because I do think it is quite possible that there is an omnipotent being that thought reality into creation, that loves us and stuff like that. But then I've looked so deep into a lot of the stuff that I think that it's very foggy with what is actually being done to the human consciousness and human beings as a whole from the outside, from other realities, that this could be a prison. for all of us, the
Could
prison
be.
planet theory, right? Of like
Yeah.
reincarnation. But I kind of wanted to get into, and I don't know how much you can say, but you were involved with some of the people that are now have a lawsuit against Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland. As I understand that right?
Yeah, yeah, you got it. Yeah, we're civilly suing. There's a few lawsuits going forward. The lawsuit I'm involved in, there's myself and I believe 19 other plaintiffs, maybe 20 now, and we're civilly suing, so personally suing Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, many people in the Attorney General's Office of Canada, all the banks that were involved in freezing accounts, including my account, and a few other nonprofit organizations that were involved in the misinformation and hate campaigns that were attached to all of that. And yeah, I can openly speak about it. There's not a ton of information that's available just yet. Can share where we're at, and most definitely share, where I'm at with it, and an important message I feel everybody needs to hear with it. As I know, I had a completely different outlook on this just 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
so can definitely open up on that.
Yeah, because I'm curious about that. Just because like I think something needs to be done. I've had a lot of videos go viral of me speaking out against taxation and how the government has suppressed the people and how our democracy is more or less an illusion. And people don't like that I call out both sides because I don't trust Pierre. And I openly say that I don't trust Justin Trudeau. I don't trust any of these people. I think Justin Trudeau is a spineless weasel that is only in politics because of his father, who is also a spineless weasel, or who his father really is. Both equally are bad in all retrospect. But I've openly spoke against the government, and I've always saw this as they select people. They put people in power that they want there. If there's someone that is going to be on a ballot for someone to check this guy or that guy, in my head, I've always viewed that they are bought and paid for before they even come into politics. And it's sad, even a person like Pierre, where people seem to like always need a savior. Everyone always needs a savior. They idolize these people, these false idols, and they worship them. And then it's always crazy to me. And I'd like to hear your take on this because I want you to kind of get into how to fight back and what solutions. Because I'm trying to give people solutions, but you need millions of people to do it. Everyone's like, what are solutions? What can we do? And I'm like, the biggest thing is do not comply. If enough people, millions of us, to stop paying taxes or put the whole system on a halt, it would change the world instantly. But I'm always wary of these people that don't understand the divide and conquer tactic. Like I've called out Pierre numerous times on videos, and then people are like, you must support Trudeau. And I'm like, I don't like either side. I think that we don't really have a good option. The conservatives are more centrist. They're not actually conservatives anymore because the left has gone so far left that the right has actually like gone more in the center of their beliefs and what their foundations are. And even the PPC, I would like to really back that and maybe even get more involved. But then I don't necessarily trust Maxime Bernier either. So it's this weird, I don't know, kind of like I want to hear your thoughts about what you think solutions are, what you think we can do, and then some of the background on the lawsuit, and if you think that this can really motivate people to make a real change in this country.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. So I'm in alignment with your beliefs on that. I think, both wings are of the same bird in the same direction. Now, I do look at, and, teachings of Law of One highlight this as well to some aspects. This is an evolution of our consciousness, of humanity, to move, if you want to call it, to that Christ consciousness, which is that state of full faith, right? Just understanding that's one aspect, at least, that, we're so much more than this physical body. We are spiritual beings. We're here to experience the physical world and do work, development on our spiritual body. And it's a pretty good way, let's say, for lack of better terms, to force a spiritual awakening by having a spiritual war with these powers, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So that outlook and that faith in the whole process, and highlighting again, each temporary defeat being just one stepping stone to the final victory, really helps me and a lot of people that I work with achieve that level of forgiveness that you said you have a hard time with, right? Because really lacking forgiveness is choosing to have a victim mindset, right? It is
100%,
it
yeah.
is being upset that somebody didn't act the way that we wanted them to,
Yeah, I
right?
agree. I
And
agree with that.
and for a lot of people, like that doesn't mean what people are doing is not, it doesn't mean it's not wrong.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not saying that, but for a lot of people, depending on the situation, we don't know what people are going through. We don't know the trials and tribulations they faced. If they were, raped as a child, going through living in a drug addict home, if they have, evil powers over them, like taking possession over them, we don't know, right? And we just need to lead by example. And what you highlighted, like one of the biggest things being non-compliance. Absolutely. What a lot of people, and especially in the freedom community, not everybody, of course, there's a lot of people that aren't, but many people are missing really the mark on true non-compliance, and that goes on all fronts. And I think one of the biggest ones, and I work a lot with the tribal mind, understanding psychology, societal programming. For anybody who's at the beginning wondering why are like some of the smartest people going along with this, well, if you understand the tribal mind, societal programming, and how we adopt behaviors in our subconscious mind, and we're more in there with the limbic system heightened from stress response and more susceptible to listen to authority and go along to get along because we want to survive and thrive in the tribe with tribal beings. When you have an understanding of that, it really starts shining a light on things. And
So true.
non-compliance, building up the physical strength is one of the biggest things, and then your mental strength, your spiritual strength, and your financial strength. What that does on many fronts, obviously, healthier body and mind, and able to really think long term, stay in your prefrontal cortex, more in your conscious mind. But as well, it gives you confidence to stand outside the tribe, right? When you know you can protect yourself and you can hold your own financially, and you have that connection to the divine, call what you want, and that's not necessary to have, but that is the greatest power you can have. When you have that confidence, you're able to stay outside the tribe, stand your own, right? And
Yeah, I
so
want to say I
non-compliant.
truly agree with that of the programming that has been done to people's subconscious, and how it is very true that people don't want to step out of line of that tribe, and like even the idea of like, oh, if you say this, you might be called a racist or an
Hmm.
anti-Semitic or
Yeah.
this or that, and then you're self-centering your it's self-censorship at the end of the day, and they've put this programming into human beings since the dawn of time,
Hmm.
and it's very clear that there's a lot of people that are programmed, and I try not to like, as I'm getting older, right? I'm 31. I'm trying to realize that these people, even to take a Bible quote, and I'm like I said, I'm not a fan of religion, but like Lord, they don't know what they do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Trying to,
Forgive them. Yeah, when he's getting nailed on the cross, forgive them for they don't know what they do. Exactly. That's
yeah.
like the fullest level of forgiveness, right? And just releasing and just wanting what's best for everybody and speaking truth, even if you're going to get crucified. And, when I go to non-compliance, one of the biggest things that I say many people are missing is treating this body as the holy temple, right? It's not just saying no to their bullshit that they're trying to push on you, the mask, the muzzle, the shots, social distancing, all that stuff. It's saying no to all the toxins they're pushing on you, saying no to
It's
alcohol,
in
or at least
everywhere.
saying no to being unconscious with alcohol and abusing alcohol, saying no to all the seed oils, all the poison sprayed on your food, saying no to all the poisons everywhere, saying no to the useless content, the circus show that many people are just getting drawn into, living vicariously through all these other people and getting subliminal messages, programming them, and being in the surroundings of everybody just abusing their bodies, saying no to it all to every degree that you
you
can. And I'm
you
not
can
saying
see
not
that
to
there's
enjoy yourself a little bit.
attack. There's a big attack on humanity and on our health and on our consciousness. Like the idea, like I just saw that meme where it's like, if there's a section in the grocery store for healthy food, for like organic healthy food, what's the rest of the store? There's
Exactly.
nothing but
Yeah. Yeah.
poison.
They don't label it as poison. No. No.
But it
They
literally
don't.
is. It's literally like most of
Yeah.
the food that we consume, even the stuff that I try to eat pretty healthy. Like I think that it should have one or two ingredients: a chicken
Hmm.
breast and some salad. Whatever it may be. But you shouldn't be having a laundry list of ingredients with the stuff that you're eating because
Hmm.
it's just poison.
Well, and that's where, one of the biggest places we can make change is leading by example. So if you want people to wake up, like, you have to think about it like sales, right? So people want to buy from people like them and people they like, and they also don't want to be sold, right? That's sales 101. So you think about the sales dance. If you are just shouting at people that this is what's going on. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for that at times, but when you're just shouting at people, right, it is not very inviting, especially if you're upset with them, like I once
Yeah.
was. And as you expressed, right, it's pushing them off, even if it is something they would absorb, right? So, how can you actually have them want to buy from you? Well, one, lead by example, right? So, are you taking care of your body, and are
Mhm.
you sharing how beautiful that experience is? Oh, wow, I have such a more clear head from removing fluoride. Like, maybe don't even mention that. Just drinking clean water without all the other stuff they put in there. My inflammation, like my joint pain's gone when I remove seed oils, so I can remove the refined sugars and stop eating deep
Yeah,
fried
I have
food. I'm
bad
like,
carpal tunnel, and I
yeah.
take turmeric, and I do find it because I enjoy my on the show. Sometimes we'll have a couple drinks, so we'll get a little loose or whatever.
Hmm.
Because my buddy has a bar, we smoke cigars, have some like kind of guy time talking about certain subjects, especially when they're kind of darker. And I can tell that like after I'm done drinking, my wrist is killing me.
Yep.
But I can tell when I'm not drinking, and I don't have fluoride in my water. I have a well and stuff like that. But I notice especially now as I'm getting older, the little things that are helping my body that are like all natural. I take mushroom supplements, and I try to stay actively healthy, but we all fall victim to that. And something I just wanted to say that like I need to get better at, and I think that speaking with people like you and Kaylor Betts and some of these people that are kind of a little more grounded on your thoughts about how to awaken people. I've always done videos that went viral where I was very angry, where I'm like,
That's the
how are
thing.
you?
That's what gets, and that's one of the traps right now too. That's a
Hundred
dopamine hit for
percent.
people, right? And so like, okay, I'll keep doing that. Like if you look at my page, like the content when I was angry got 10 times more engagement, right? But I don't want to be like, I think about a 90-10 rule, right? 10% of your time and energy on problems, identify the problem, what can it potentially grow into, and then 90% of your time and energy on solutions. What are the solutions that are actually going to create change, right?
I
So
agree.
leading that example I was talking about, the healthy life, right? And then as you're trying to help people, be genuinely interested into them. What are they actually interested into? And give them genuine compliments. People like them. So when you show interest, they're going to show more interest in you. And then you're leading an example of beautiful health and life and actually good friendships, circled people that aren't actually just like, pointing at the problem and upset
Yeah.
about it. Doesn't mean don't point at the problem.
Mhm.
But, there's a lot of people who are just like so upset with life. Like, that's not very enticing for people to buy from, right? And you also have to remember too, the nervous system gets attached to the known, even if it's a chaotic known. It's very, resistant to the unknown, the unfamiliar. That's why you have a lot of harder times when you want to push into a new exercise routine or new diet or anything like that, a new job. Like your nervous system's like, this is unfamiliar. And it gives you a signal that it doesn't feel right. It's just saying it's unfamiliar. So think about that. Now, how much is that tenfold when you are dangling a carrot in front of somebody that it's not only unfamiliar, but it's saying their whole reality is false.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I have a tough time where I've been angry for a lot of my life of people not seeing what I saw, and then because of the dark rabbit holes that I was going down, and I read a lot of books, and I read stuff like by David Icke, which can be very like overwhelming, of some of the aspects of how deep does this really go and
Mhm.
how much of it is true. And I'm the type of person, I always sit on the fence. I don't ever hold cement beliefs in anything because I think knowledge is an infinite pursuit that you're always learning more and more. So
Likewise.
my biggest thing is I question everything. But I'm starting to learn how to do this now, and especially like hearing what you have to say is making me think more about the approach that I have, especially to try to awaken people. Because I've been angry about the way that the world is, and once you start to see through the matrix or whatever people want to call it, this illusion that we live in, and you start to put the puzzle pieces together of who is really in control and how they operate and who's got their hands in what and what money is going where, and then you start to get angry about the state of the world and how it is plagued by like very dark evil people. Like there is an evil here, and if these people are possessed by some sort of demonic force or entities that exist outside of reality, it definitely seems like there's an evil plaguing this world. And then it obviously on people I think that are awake, it weighs on them a lot. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a big believer, we are co-creators with the divine. And again, call that what you want. I don't believe there's, a old gray haired man living up in the sky.
yeah, yeah,
But, and I'm the same way. I'm not concrete to many beliefs. There's some like one that's concrete is there's fear of faith. Faith is our calling. Fear is not.
I
And that's
agree.
one of the biggest things, even what you're highlighting. When we get angry, that's coming from a place of fear, right? Like when I got angry, it was fearful for what's going to happen to my daughter, what's going to happen to the future generations and whatnot, right? So not
Yeah,
having
me
that
too.
faith in the divine plan. And when you are at that, like I feel we're co-creators with the divine and the law, manifestation is very real. Our thoughts are very powerful, but not just our thoughts and the word we use. It's the law of vibration is the primary law over the law of attraction being the secondary law. So what are you actually feeling? Your feeling state, right? You can see that when you hit a winning streak, it goes for a winning streak because you're in that feeling state of abundance of actually thinking about the good, right? And then when you hit a losing streak, it becomes a streak often because you're perpetuating it with your feeling states. So when we're just pointing at the problems, angry, fearful, upset, we're opening up more space for that, creating more space for it. So we need to create space for the change we wish to see and having faith that this is all happening for a reason. People are waking up, people are changing. And so not only is that going to create the space and help create change through the power of our vessels that we have here, but as well, the body language and tonality that comes in to the people you're interacting with, it actually invites them. to hear what you're saying instead of, nah, I just bad vibes. I don't want to
Yeah,
hear
this
what this
guy's
guy's
really
saying.
angry about the
Yeah,
government.
yeah, precisely,
You know.
precisely, right? That's one of the biggest things. And then as well, when we go back to the tribal mind and all, like taking care of your body, like I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself a little bit, but be very
Yeah.
conscious of what you're consuming. And our tribal mind is most associated with the limbic system, right? So you can look at the conscious mind more associated. Like there's a lot that's still not known about the conscious and subconscious, but it seems fairly certain that the conscious mind you could associate more with the prefrontal cortex, which is the most evolved part of our brain, right? That's responsible for willpower, long-term thinking, goal setting, conscious thinking. And our subconscious mind is more attached to the limbic system, which is our emotional response center, right? Which is triggered through our stress response. It has a use. Both are there to defend us, to protect us, right? And the problem is the world we live in today. So the limbic system, the emotional response center, not thinking long term, you have a bear come at you in the woods, right? It's going to do what it needs to do to shut down certain systems, put the energy, blood where it needs to go so you can fight or flight or freeze,
Yeah.
whatever is most associated. The problem is we have the same stress response if that bear's attacking us or we're consuming toxins. We're taking in too much alcohol. We're eating all the seed oils, all the poisons they're spraying on the food, putting all the poisons on your skin, spraying on the cologne or perfume that's not only toxic being absorbed through your skin, but it's also
But you're also
endocrine
inhaling it.
disrupting chemicals that are throwing your
Yeah.
hormones off, right? Not getting enough sunlight, wearing sunglasses all the time, right? Not getting enough sleep. All these things heighten your stress response. So now puts you more in your emotional response center, which you're going to be more emotionally reactive. So that's already going to be against you for the things you're trying to do, right? To be not emotionally reactive, but as well puts you in what I call bodyguard number 2. I attach that to the subconscious mind. Bodyguard number 1 is the more ready, able, thinking long term, make shit happen, right? Bodyguard number 2 is there too, but guess what? Bodyguard number 2 is attached to the tribal mind. It's more like the officer. Gonna go with authority, is programmed to get you to fit in with the tribe, is continuously scanning what's in repetition. The subconscious mind is scanning over 10 million bits of information per second, while bodyguard number 1, the conscious mind, is only scanning 50. And why is it doing that? So it can pick on repetitive behaviors to fit in with the tribe. And it looks as tribe leaders, which we associate with people on the TV,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
associate with doctors, people in those cloaks, teachers, officers, government officials. Now, of course, many of us are starting to disassociate with that, which is what we need to
Yeah, it's
do.
weird. I never liked authority.
Me neither. Me neither. That was an
They
upper hand on
literally
me. Yeah.
classified me as authority defiance disorder or something like that when I was like 14. Like I never liked authority and someone telling me what to do, especially teachers and stuff like that. So it's interesting you saying that because like I don't know why, but I've always been like an outcast when it comes to my stance on things, and I didn't need that tribal community. I just needed a couple of my friends really, and a good woman. I have a good wife that I also like. I try to show her stuff, and then it's like she thinks I live in fear, which I'm trying not to. I'm trying to make people aware of kind of what's going on. But because I'm constantly consuming so much stuff, because I'm trying to learn, like I read a lot and then I watch a lot of videos, like especially like Rumble documentaries where I want to see what's going on. And then there's so much fear, the what the government's going to do, what these people are doing, what the LGBT is doing, all this stuff. It is consuming. And there's a part of me that I need to learn how to balance that.
That's where I suggest that 90-10 rule. 10% of your time on that bullshit, which is good to know. Yeah, I dive down those rabbit holes as well, but then 90% of your time on solutions, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
I'm blessed as well. Like COVID woke me up, but I always felt like something was wrong. I didn't like authority. I've been in and out of the system, like I said. That's because I push back at authority. I don't like people telling me what to do.
Yes.
And when many people are blessed with that, and I was a lone wolf as well, like community wasn't big for me. I was very good being on my own. I enjoyed it. I was very pushed off from the world. I know that was a gift, and many people have that. So when I'm talking about what I've been just saying with the tribal mind, that might not necessarily have a big effect on people, but still what does is the toxins you're consuming will still put you in that emotional response center where you are going to be more drawn to fear, emotional reactions, anger. Some of you, especially you burly men, don't want to say it's fear, but that anger is most often attached to
That's
fear,
true.
which controlled anger is a useful emotion. If we control it and we're conscious
Yeah.
of it, where it's coming from and use it for good, but often it's emotional reaction that's not serving us, right? So removing those toxins, being very conscious about the alcohol, everything you're putting in your system, right? And even like, there's certain things that can be good for you, but you're over consuming and you know that. So now there's conflict inside, which is going to layer over top shells over your heart and not
Yeah.
actually have you loving who you are and what you're doing, knowing you're still human. Like give yourself grace. We always have room to grow, as you already mentioned, but when we're unnecessarily not being conscious, about our decisions and over consuming, abusing things and taking in all this bullshit, it just adds up and really knocks us down from our full power to
Have
actually make
you
that change.
ever tried a psychedelic?
Oh yeah, 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 absolutely.
Okay,
I'm a
because
huge advocate of
that's
psychedelics. Yeah,
something that like really pushes you against a wall, and it erases addiction. If you
yeah,
do it like often and you do big enough trips or even microdosing, I tried for a while. I felt I benefited more. My wife will say that that microdosing really helped me, but then
mm,
when I started doing it more, I found that I was gaining more knowledge about myself doing the bigger trips, but it
yeah,
like cut addiction. I used to smoke and then I vaped and then I started doing mushrooms, stopped vaping.
mm,
And then when I'm on it, I'm not drinking or anything like that. And I spent a lot of time, I always kept alcohol at bay. Always have. It's always been kind of a demon that could creep up and has influenced me probably to do some bad stuff in my past. But recently, I've tried to keep it really at bay. But then there's this times where you indulge too much,
mm.
and then the next day you feel like shit, and I feel like shit for days. Now that I'm in my
Yeah, oh, yeah,
30s,
man. Yeah,
it's like not good. And so I do find with mushrooms, especially certain kinds, some are a lot more potent than others. But it makes you face these realities that most people could not handle. I don't suggest it for anyone because people freak out
yeah. I don't
to
suggest it
face
for
that
everyone either.
darkness.
I'm not a big fan of microdosing myself. I know many people who are. I'm more of a like 5 gram solo dose
Yeah,
individual, and
me
I'm a
too.
big advocate. That's where I met God on, and I utilized to connect with God for quite some time until I was showing I didn't need that anymore and moved away from him. I still will use psilocybin from time to time,
I've
and
stepped away recently. Like I did it like 2 weeks ago. Before that, I gave myself 3-4 months. And before I was taking it, like people thought I was crazy because I was taking it like every other weekend, sometimes every
that's what I
weekend.
used to do every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks or once a month is what I used to do.
And
Yeah.
it's a powerful thing. Like it like changes you and your thoughts, and it actually did make me more of a loving and caring person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You feel that divine love, that divine union is connected. It pulls down the veil, right? Breaks down that reality to some degree and just brings us closer to the divine. I truthfully believe that. And when I first had those experiences, I wouldn't tell anybody, but I was left always with different things that instilled the memory that this wasn't just a construct of real mind from the psychedelic experience. This was actually real, this union.
I've
So,
always taken some sort of lesson
mhm.
from it. Like one of them, I brought this up before, is like, what do I want to leave here when I go? Do I want to leave these angry messages of, and I always preach power to the people. Stop letting them consume you with divide and conquer. And because I reach a lot of people through my videos, even when I'm angry because I'm more vocal about it, it does reach more people. And then I'm like, should I keep doing this? And I've done some videos where I'm trying to break down this understanding of like, hey, I'm angry because of this and that, and anger can be used as a tool, but it also can be used against you
Yep.
in a lot of ways. And I want to kind of, because I know you're limited on time, I want to kind of get into a couple of what is you think might happen with this lawsuit and solutions like that the listeners can take and use in their own life. I know you've already mentioned a bunch, and I agree with like everything that you've said. And so I want to make sure that we get across solutions for the problems that we face in this world, especially within Canada, because this country is declining. Like I speak openly against mass immigration a lot because I think that it's eroding the fabric of what it means to be Canadian and taking away that identity. And it's nothing against the people coming here, but if you bring so many people in that they don't adapt to the culture that already
Yeah.
exists here,
Yeah.
it's
The
not gonna
melting
do well for anybody.
It's the melting pot agenda.
Yeah,
It's attached to the Communist Manifesto. Yeah, I agree
yeah.
with you.
I'm very much
Um,
against communism. I've been really reading into that a little too much.
yeah, so like solution oriented. Yeah, w- you just mentioned something that's off the top of my head, so I'm sure it'll come back. But what I mentioned, like the biggest thing I see is the faith, whatever faith you have, but just believing that this is happening, the victory is there, and all these temporary defeats are there for the final victory. So really having that faith and leaning into that, and gratitude will really help you with that as well, and as well help you bring in more abundance. Getting into a morning gratitude exercise, making that a habit, then starting an evening one, and then try to button it up throughout the entire day, right? And whether you want to call it God is giving his children more because they're showing appreciation, or just the universal laws, right? When you show appreciation, you're grateful for what you have, you're going to say, you're signaling to the universal field that you want more of this, right? You're showing you're appreciative of it as well. Just your focus being on that is going to be like a magnet drawing more in. So focus on your faith, focus on, and whatever that is to you, but really the fundamental that I'm speaking of is just faith that everything is happening for a reason. Everybody has their own journey. Yes, try to help them, but also respect. They have to go through their own shit on their own timeline, okay? I do
Yeah,
feel
I
we can
agree.
bump them around a little bit and maybe speed them up to get out of the negative side of that, but we all have our own journey. We all have certain shit we need to go through. So respect that. Tough love has its place, know that, but respect them and love them nonetheless. Love your neighbor, love your oppressors, even, I think is one of the biggest things that has changed my life, that has brought so much more abundance and so much change for the people around me
I
when
don't
I
know how
let
you
go
do
of
that.
that hate. Man, I've had a lot of people come at me, even in the freedom community, when I made that transition to loving. People hated it. When I handed out roses on Valentine's Day to the police officers in the Auto Freedom Convoy,
Mhm.
people hated me on that. And that was such a beautiful catalyst for me to just start loving everybody regardless. I always speak on the Toltec wisdom and the fifth agreement you mentioned, question everything. And one of them being, don't take anything personally. And of course, be impeccable with your word and don't make assumptions. Always do your best. And don't take anything personally means, of course, people hating you. But that goes for praise as well. You know who you are. You know where your heart's at. You know what you're doing, right? You know who you are. Don't let people identify you. Don't let people put their projections onto you and make you think that's who you are, right? Be true to yourself. Speak your truth and do so with the best service you can provide, helping people and open up space, and the faith believing that the change is happening is huge. That is huge. And of course, lead that example, living healthy, shining that light, and encouraging people to start understanding, the masculine and the feminine and all these toxins that are feminizing, everybody and just throwing our hormones completely off is a big one. And however you can do that, well, feather in the information, see who you're speaking to. Think about it like a sales dance. The people around you, okay, where are they at? What are their pain points? Love is the biggest, greatest motivator. Pain is the second. So use those to your advantage where you can, and avoid triggers where you need to. When that's just going to push people away. Think about take enjoyment of it. Extreme ownership, I call it. Extreme ownership is just taking extreme ownership. The easiest way to think about it is like an employer talking to his employees, guiding them, and they don't get the desired outcome done. Instead of blaming them, and of course, accountability should be given, but taking extreme ownership. How did I guide them wrong? How did I speak to them in a way that didn't speak to them? And it was what spoke to me and it made sense to me, but it didn't make sense to them. How did I not give them the recognition they desire to actually be inspired to do this, right?
Yeah,
Take
I agree.
extreme ownership. And the fundamental for that with me is as long as the desired outcome is what's best for everybody, then play the game. There's nothing wrong with playing a game if you have what's the best interest for everybody, right? So take extreme ownership, open up space, have faith, push forward, leading by example, and absolutely when like things like this court case coming up, get that word out, right? Like show the injustice that people are actually pushing back and we do have the power and still hope. Now I'll tell you, 2 years ago, like we just had that recent ruling with the Emergency Act being unconstitutional and unlawful. 2 years ago, I was asked to be part of that case. I didn't want anything to do with it. I said, you guys are all wasting everybody's time. You're playing in a broken system, right? I have the same belief as you. It's the same, the wing on the same
Yeah.
bird, right? Both sides going to the same place. I don't want anything to do with it. It's all controlled. And sure enough, 2 years later, well, there was a win, right? And whatever that it means, right? Okay, there's no accountability yet, but you know what? It was a win. People are waking up. Every little bit wakes people up, whether it's a big significant or seems insignificant. It's helping more people wake up. And that's the whole name of the game. Keep helping
I've
people
never
wake
seen
up.
so many people awake, and I always thought I was like a lone wolf when I came to this, and that's why the people that like justify them, you know, using horses to stomp people and beating people with rifle butts. Some of the stuff that they did, what the government did, is disgusting. And the thing is, what I preach all the time is if there's no accountability, there's no future. If we cannot hold these politicians and these people accountable, and they think that they can do whatever they want to their citizens, we already live in a dictatorship. And I always hear people that are like, why don't you go off to another country? You think it's bad here? Go live in North Korea or go live here and that. And I made a video recently where I was like, we're trying to avoid our countries becoming like that. That's the whole point, is we don't want our countries to become a suppressed dictatorship, which I think that we already semi-live in a dictatorship. If you can't question something, then you're already a slave. Only slaves can't question their masters. So, and this even goes to the stuff to do with Zionism and everything. There's a bunch of layers that this folds under. But I truly believe that if you can't question something, then you're already a slave.
Oh, of
You're
course.
already in a
Yeah,
slave
you
mindset.
go look into like the history of Rothschild and Theodore Herzl, the founders of the Zionist movement is quite interesting, and the attachments to the Communist Manifesto and everything that comes with that.
I have.
The
We just did a Khazarian Mafia episode. It's pretty.
well,
dark
you know,
stuff.
oh yeah, that's a story that's not told, right? You know what you just mentioned, like this, so the horses trampling people, right? So that woke people up, and then also what many people don't realize, the people you're talking about that are still angry about that and like even laughing or criticizing you, those reactions are waking other people up. Like, holy shit, like where's your compassion, empathy, right? So like every little bit is adding to it, right? So now the recent ruling, a bunch of people reached out to me and said, hey, Shaun, you see the recent ruling? Are you going to push forward, right? Because my bank account was frozen. And I said, no, I still 4 weeks ago. I'm like, I want nothing to do with this broken system.
Yeah.
And then I felt that force inside. And that's where it's at, right? Like my brand, the best way to break free. What does that mean? Like, how do you break free? What's the best way to break free? Well, in 3 words, I say to feel whole. And what does that mean? Like to take all the layers off of your heart and be able to live present in your heart space, feeling whole, full of love, and being able to answer your calling in each present moment. And of course, there's a couple hundred things that fall under that on what you need to do, different modalities to break free from maybe your addictions or whatever it is. But really at the pinnacle is to live in the present moment, feeling whole out of your heart space. That's one of the most powerful things a man can do, is live in his heart and actually be able to share that openly and be able to protect and provide out of their heart space, not attached to perceptions, bending truth around their desires or perceptions of want to be what reality is, or all of the past pain and trauma. And so I said, I felt this guiding force, and that's one of the biggest things, to clear your body out, be the holy temple, so you can receive that guidance clearly, right? The mushrooms help with that for some people. That's where it first started with me. And I had this calling, like I felt the force tell me, the force. I felt it tell me.
Well, that's how I feel. It's so funny because I've been a huge Star Wars fan my whole life, and I always felt like that's what there's energies out there that are like guiding us.
Yeah,
and I think that it's been guiding
angels. Yeah, either works. Yeah, or source.
And I think it's been guiding me to talk to people like you. And even I do think that everything happens for a reason. It sets up for a reason. Like my wife introduced me to Kaler Betts because she liked him a lot and what he had to say. And then it led me to be like, hey, I'm just going to see if he wants to come on the show. And even same with you, it kind of guided me there. Someone sent me your video and I already heard about the ruling. And I'm like, oh, this is good. This is like, my main thing is like, I really want to see accountability. I'm not going to ever trust my government. It's not going to matter what happens.
Well, the
but
law
at
of
least
karma, I believe, is real, man. What goes around comes around. There will be accountability at some point, right? And often we just can't see really how the whole game, the play is coming together. And so, when I'm talking about that force, it told me, hey, Shaun, you're making the wrong decision on that, when it recently came. And I was like, no, I'm not playing in that broken system. So I said, okay, bring me the lawyer. Show me, like, is this what I'm feeling? Is that correct? Bring me the lawyer. Sure enough, that night, somebody sends me the call out for that lawyer is looking for people, but they can't actually like look for people. So there's a middleman doing it. So I connect with them.
Yeah, 100%.
I get in touch with the firm.
But this is what we need too, because a lot of lawyers are being paid to not pursue this avenue. And it's crazy if you have a government that is paying off lawyers, other politicians on either side, making backdoor deals, shaking hands, whatever it may be. That means we don't live in a free system. Like everyone always like, when I post up about communism, they're like, that's happening under democracy. I'm like, no, communists haven't infiltrated your governments for like a long time. You had that Russian guy that was part of the KGB that came over to the United States, I think in the 80s or whatever. And he was like, man, it's already here. You already have that infiltration in your system. So, and I do think that people like you and making people aware of what's going on is we're getting a lot of attention by doing some of these episodes that are like, ooh, you shouldn't talk about this kind of stuff. But people want to hear it. They want to question what is going on.
Right. Well, and this is where I'd like to leave the message in terms of, so that lawyer came to me. So it was clear, go play in this system, man. Go do it. And now when I look at it, I see it a win-win situation no matter what happens right now with this court case. Okay. So one, it already woke people up to the injustice, that even more so, like people who weren't really looking when the recent ruling just happened, 3-4 weeks ago. Right. So that stirred more people. That was an alarm for people. Right. So now we're pushing through civilly. Now, there is court cases going through class action federally. I was invited to be a part of that, but I decided to take part of the civil case because I want to have them personally responsible, or at least even have Justin in court with me.
Yeah.
And I obviously, as well, the firm I'm with is the firm that won the recent ruling, so that is obviously a huge bonus as well. So if it goes
needs
to
to be in
court
jail.
now, okay, here's the few options. There's three options, right? So they come up with a settlement and it doesn't go to trial, and we accept. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not up to me. There's 20 plaintiffs. It'd be a majority vote. So they pay out a settlement, and we're asking almost $2 million per person. So that's $50 million. That's going to go to the freedom communities. That'll be
Yeah.
put it back into the community. Now, is that going to come out of taxpayers' wallets? Maybe. And you know what? If it does, it's probably one of the best things our tax money can go to, one of them. And secondly,
I agree.
because most of us are going to use it for good, I'll be building the community that I've been wanting to build for a little while now on an acreage. Secondly, if it does come out of taxpayers' wallets, that is going to stir and wake more people from that alarm of it affecting their pocketbooks now. Now, when the injustice keeps coming, they're going to be like, no, we're not paying out for this again. No, this isn't right, right? It's going to get more people to start looking to the people speaking out and actually start uniting instead of being divided more. Right now, if it goes to trial, great, more exposure, because we get payouts. We're going to be sharing that too. The whole world's going to hear it, right? That's what happened.
Yep.
Now, if it goes to trial, great, even more exposure. Now, if it goes to trial and it's a failure, that's a win too. Because even if we're putting together people's money to go to trial, that people who just saw that it was ruled unconstitutional, unlawful, and then there's no justice had, there's no accountability had, that is a huge alarm bell for many people. And they're going to say, hey, that's not cool. We got to do something about this. We got to unite, right? So have faith. That's where I want to end it out. I know we're going to jump off here. Have faith.
Yeah,
and open up
I
space.
believe in unity is the best thing. And
Yeah,
I want
man.
you to shed all your stuff. I wouldn't actually mind getting you back on in a month or two if you're open to do it. Like, I would love to talk with you for another hour and discuss maybe more solutions and dive down a little bit of a rabbit hole if you're ever interested. But I want you to shout out your stuff. Make sure the fans of the show know where to find you. If you can see by the name, we did take it from Bob and Doug McKenzie, so we call the fans the hoseheads. So I always try to keep it true to Canada, even though one of my co-hosts is in Ireland now and stuff. But I want all the fans and all the hoseheads to know where to find you, where they can support your stuff. I'm looking at your website right now, and it's awesome. You have a great structured website of how to show people what they can do, how you can help them through this. I give you a lot of credit for what you're doing.
Yeah, you can find me at thebestwaytobreakfree.com. That's thebestwaytobreakfree.com. We have a online community there. I put in, the 15 years of coaching and the lessons that I have there. And, if you're ever looking for just step-by-step guidance on how to free yourself from all these toxins, we have an app that puts you through all that, where you can join challenges with community members and do it yourself. And all my social media links are at the bottom of that page, at the bottom of that website in the footer as well. My podcast can be found on that website. And if you just want to go straight to my Instagram, it's Shaun J Zimmer, ShaunJ Zimmer. But the best way to breakfree.com. There's a lot of good stuff to check out there. We have some really good things coming together. So,
that's
brother.
awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm happy you're doing what you're doing, man. I'd definitely be happy to jump on again. We should have updates. Trudeau was served on Valentine's Day, and I think it was 30 days that he has to respond if he was in Canada, or 60 days if he's out of province, out of country. So within the next 2 months, we should have a response and know a little bit at least.
The karma's coming, and I think that people are more and more waking up. I've seen it more than ever before, so I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic about the things that are going on. I think that it's going to be a big push, and there might be some hard times ahead by 2030. I really think that it might have to push people against a wall to really.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, everybody had a calling, like most people, right? Like a couple of years ago, some people had to let go of their jobs that they went to school 5 years for, dumped $100,000 into that job, had all these goals they had planned. You got to let go of that. Maybe you had to let go of your house, let go of your friends, let go of your family. But anybody who let go of that and pushed in, they know there's beauty there. And some of you actually haven't even reaped the harvest of that yet. But I tell you, you keep surrendering into that divine calling, and it is beautiful, man. But there's gonna be bumps in the road. It's gonna get hard, right? But it's dissolving of this fucking materialistic world that we've gotten attached to, and all the just stuck in our selfish desires, our lust, and everything, our greed, right? Like, I'm not saying we're not here to experience the physical world, but we've gotten way too far off, and that's we're being called, and we're being pushed. We call it spirit guides, call it guardian angels, call it God, call it the divine, our creator, whatever you want. Keep leaning into that. That's my best
I
advice
agree.
for anybody.
I agree with everything you're saying. And the more that you stay stuck in this physical world, the more they keep you addicted to things, addicted to technology, addicted to all the physical aspects of reality. They're trying to hold you in this physical reality of torment. And I think that we can break free from it. And I think at some point we can ascend. And I really, truly believe that's shit. So everybody out there, go support Shaun's stuff. Like, go do it. Go look up the website. I'll be putting links in the description on video aspects, all the audio platforms. So make sure to check out the links. And everybody stay strange out there.